Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. This is one of the greatest albums I've ever heard, and I only heard it for the first time about 6 months ago. And because it's so great, I just got the urge to do a review of it. So first I wanted to give a little bit of background about this album, the recording process in particular, because it's pretty interesting to me. At this time, Kanye's public perception wasn't very good because of the VMA incident in 2009. He infamously interrupted Taylor Swift and said Beyonce had one of the greatest music videos of all time. Most people know this at this point. And that really soured his view in the public's eye. And it caused him to go to Hawaii and isolate himself in Hawaii for a year and record this album. And this was in 2010. So he rented out a studio, I believe, an entire studio, and worked on this album pretty much 24/7. It was a very meticulous process. I read that he would work on different songs in different rooms, and when he got stuck on a song, he would go to another room and go work on another song. And he didn't sleep much. He even hired personal chefs, and he flew out anyone that he wanted to be on the album. Any features, he flew those people out to record with him. So I just thought the recording process behind this album was very interesting. He was very meticulous in crafting this album, and that's something I can respect. So why do I like this album so much? Well, first of all, the production. The production's fantastic. I haven't heard that many hip-hop albums, but to my knowledge, there's no other album that sounds quite like this one. It's really unique. It has elements of rock, R&B, and symphonic music. A big reason why I think I like it so much is because of the prevalent rock influence in a lot of these songs, and I come from having listened to a lot of rock. It's just really creative the way he's crafted these songs. His use of samples is so good. I mean, I went back and listened to a lot of the original samples in these songs. It's just so creative, I think, the way he transforms these samples into something he can use on his album. I really think he has a really good ear for these things. I'm sure he has a team to help him, but just really creative use of samples on this album. Also, the production is very varied. No two songs really sound the same. There is a lot of lush piano and soft guitar in some of these songs. And some of these songs have almost tribal drums and tribal chants, which is very cool. And the whole album kind of has just this grandiose production that really fits with the themes that he's talking about. And I just really like the emotions that the production evokes, because it's so grandiose and so maximalist. So speaking of feelings that this album evokes, this album paints a very particular picture in my mind of someone who's at the top of their game, someone famous, successful, like a celebrity, who despite all this success has personal troubles, is unsatisfied with their life and feels disillusioned. And this disillusionment, for some reason, is a feeling I can really connect with. Also, Kanye is very boastful in a lot of these songs, which I've discovered I really like boastful rap, particularly if they have good music to back it up. I don't know, this album really just hits me on an emotional level. A lot of the topics that Kanye talks about, such as he talks about his own flaws in Runaway, or he talks about what seems like a failed relationship in Blame Game. It really hits me on an emotional level, even though these aren't necessarily topics that I'm familiar with. I just think the music complements the topics Kanye talks about so well that I can really feel the emotions that he's trying to get across. Also, there are a lot of memorable and quotable lines on this album. I mean, I've memorized the first 5 songs almost entirely, And Kanye's flow is also on point on this album. He's not known for his technical ability as a rapper, but I just think his flows really complement the instrumentals on this album very well. Also, there's lots of great features on this album. There's a lot of features too. For example, Nicki Minaj on Monster, Kid Cudi is on this album, Jay-Z, even Bon Iver, which is an indie folk artist. He's on this album on a couple songs. None of the features feel out of place on the album, and I think every person who featured on the album did a great job. There's also lots of good hooks in songs like Gorgeous, Runaway, and Dark Fantasy. So to sum it up, basically the emotions that this album evokes for me is the reason I think it's so great. And the production and the delivery in these songs is what I think really helps create those emotions. So let's talk about favorite and least favorite tracks. My favorite tracks would have to be the first five: Dark Fantasy, Gorgeous, Power, All of the Lights Interlude, and All of the Lights. I think these five tracks just flow so well together. I mean, it's just a fantastic intro to the album, and they feel like a unit to me. So those five are my favorite, and Power would be my absolute favorite song on the album. I mean, everything about Power is so fantastic. With the production, with the drums and the chanting, and just the topic of the song, how Kanye is just bragging pretty much the whole song. It's great. It really is. So my least favorite track is Hell of a Life, and my second least favorite is Devil in a New Dress. These are still good songs. There are no bad or mediocre songs on this album. They're just not nearly as good as some of the other songs. Hell of a Life in particular it's just not as interesting or as emotionally resonant as most of the other songs. But again, they're good songs, just not as good as the others. So in conclusion, this album's damn near perfect. It's fantastic, one of the greatest albums I've ever heard. And I only heard it about 6 months ago for the first time. But I'm really glad I gave it a shot because I still listen to it on a fairly regular basis. Yeah, this album gets a 9.5 out of 10 from me. So if you haven't listened to it yet, go listen to it. Even if you're not really a hip-hop fan, go listen to it because I really think you'll find something to like at least. Thank you for watching. This is just a one-off review that I really wanted to make, and have a good day.